Okay. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Wally Hop. I'm the Associate Dean for part-time MBA education here at the Ross School, and I'm delighted that you're all with me today. I'm going to go over the online MBA program, which we're rolling out in the fall of 19. And my plan here is to sort of walk you through the um, a set of questions here. So I'm going to try to advance the slide, but I don't that direction. Hang on, just there we go. Okay, so the three, that's me, and the questions that I want to address is why Ross? What is it that makes Ross special, or what is it that you need to know about Ross to determine whether it's for you? Then why online? What's the virtues of online, and how is online adapted to delivering the strengths of Ross? And then finally, why now? And I encourage you to submit questions as we go, or I'll provide opportunity for questions at the end because I'd like to cover whatever it is that all of you are interested in knowing about. So let's get started here and start with why Ross. Okay, as you all know, Ross is one of the premier business schools in the world, and our global reputation is reflected by our rankings. We're part of the University of Michigan, which has more than 100 graduate programs that are ranked in the top 10. And here in Ross, both our part-time and full-time MBAs are also top 10 ranked programs. So reputation matters a lot in this game because an MBA education is a professional degree. You're looking for it to open doors for your careers, and the fact that we have this kind of reputation and also have lots of alums around the world makes it a very powerful tool for doing that door opening. So beyond the global reputation, we have our reputation is based on thought leadership. We have some of the world's premier experts in a variety of business disciplines. So some of the strengths of Ross, the things that make Ross what it is, are our research strength in these areas. So for instance, in leadership, we have some of the leading scholars in the leadership area. We have the Sanger Center, which coalesces that leadership and translates it into lots of educational experiences. We have a lot of strength in entrepreneurship. We have, lots of events in which students engage with private equity professionals and other entrepreneurs to, learn how to be a successful entrepreneur. The Zell-Lurie Institute is one of the, actually, I think it's the #1 ranked entrepreneurship institute in the world currently. We have a lot of strength in operations and analytics. The Tauber Institute for Global Operations is kind of our home base for that kind of thing, but it permeates the school. You'll find analytics not just in operations, but in marketing and in strategy here in the Ross School. Sustainability, we have a lot of sort of socially responsible management focus amongst our faculty research and our student body interests. The Herb Institute is an interdisciplinary institute. It cuts across the School of Natural Resources and the Ross School of Business and focuses on sustainability. And finally, the Center for Positive Organizations focuses on creating positive work environments. And all of these centers provide communities for students who are interested in these directions to connect with those leading experts in those areas. So this kind of creates the culture of the place as a research-based business school. Oops, yep, sorry, there's a little bit of a lag here, so I'll get used to this. The research turns into instruction. So here, we have one of our world-class faculty members talking to students, and the classes themselves are not just based on textbooks, they're based on the research or on the consulting or on the board membership or the company involvement of the faculty. So this is an incredibly important part of the educational experience here at Ross. And the way that we make it happen across all of the different platforms is we have the same people teaching them. So the same instructors that teach the full-time MBA classes teach the evening MBA classes and will be teaching the online MBA classes. So when you come to Ross, you're going to have contact with these thought leaders, no matter what program you're involved in. You'll also have contact with your colleagues, your classmates. And this is one of the most important benefits of an MBA education. After you graduate, of course, you've gathered lots of knowledge and experiences and perspectives, but the connections to people, not just those faculty thought leaders, not just the industry people that you'll engage with in presentations and conferences and things like that, but your classmates. Those classmates become part of your social network for life. And so the fact that the standard for the part-time MBA is the same, whether you're coming into the evening program, the weekend program, the online program, and represent outstanding people with excellent work experiences and other credentials, that matters a lot, because when you graduate, you're going to want to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody who knows something about, you name it, private equity or supply chain management or, human resources, whatever it is, you're going to have people in your social network. And the social network is not just your program. You have to remember that when you come to Ross, you're part of a big school with a lot of students in lots of programs, and you're able to leverage connections across all of those. And the fact that the standards are very high across all of them matters a lot to building that social network. The signature instructional mechanism for the Ross School is what we call action-based learning, learning by doing. So in Ross, we use the classroom sessions for engaged things, case discussions, role-playing exercises, simulations, debates, etc. Right? We want people to be engaged in their learning, not just listening to something. So we would never offer a class in the format I'm using right now, where I'm doing all the talking and you're just listening. In class, you would be talking, you would be doing, you would be engaged. We carry that beyond just every regular class. So, for instance, you're taking a stat class, you're analyzing data in class. We carry that to specific classes. So one of our signature classes in the part-time program is C-level thinking. C-level thinking is a course in which we bring CEOs and sometimes other C-level officers into class to talk about some of the most challenging decisions they've had to make, and they then challenge the students to say how they would respond to those. And so the classes are very interactive. The CEOs push the students very hard, but then the students turn around and reflect on how the various CEOs approached these gnarly problems that they had to deal with. And you come away with some perspective on, how do I change the way that I approach problems if I want to move from my, say, entry-level management position to, the senior ranks. And so being exposed to those kinds of people in class is, and doing it in an interactive learning by doing way, is really important. MAP, multidisciplinary action projects, are required of our business students across these programs. So, and it will be required in the online program as well. These are projects where students work for real companies on real problems that their clients actually care about. So you can kind of see yourself as part of a consulting team who's stepping into a business and analyzing a problem and proposing solutions and working with the client to determine what's going to work. And we're going to do that in the online program. We're just going to do it using the distance technology as opposed to sending students around the world. But because we're doing it at a distance, the whole world is open to us in terms of seeking out projects. Finally, we have the REAL, which it stands for Ross Experiences in Action Learning. We are building relationships with companies that are long-term. So for instance, we have students now that are working on sort of evolutions of projects with companies in which they're rolling out new product categories. And in those cases, many of them, they're answering to the president of the company, and they're serving like a real design team rolling out a product. And so they have actual ownership, I mean, stake in this. And of course, students wind up getting hired into these companies that are sponsoring these kinds of projects. So action-based learning is really, really important for us here at Ross. It's what sort of distinguishes us. We've been doing this for 25 years. You know, we plan to continue doing it in every program we introduce, including the online. So as I just flashed there, once you graduate, obviously one of the biggest things you're concerned about with is getting a job and advancing your career. One of the biggest resources you buy into when you go to an elite school like Ross and like the University of Michigan is an alumni network. So the University of Michigan has the largest alumni network of any university in the world. It's over 500 million people, and you can walk around, you know, any city in the world practically and go up to people and say "Go Blue," and you'll find somebody that'll do the "Go Blue" thing back to you. So that's a powerful thing because all those people, those Wolverines we call them, are out there, and it's much easier to open a door when you want to talk to somebody you know, in those places. I've put up just a few illustrious University of Michigan alums. Many of these people are Ross alums, but not all of them. Some of them come from other walks of life. And so you can see that we've got, you know, connections to the, you know, the famous and powerful, but you've also got connections to every industry you can imagine. Every company, you know, of any size has got Michigan people in it. And this is a big part of the advantage of having a Michigan degree, of having a Ross degree. And the online program is just the same. We've been calling up some of these alums and saying, what do you think about, you know, an online MBA? Would you send your people to it? And the answer has been yes. And we have companies now that are sponsoring students to come into this program. If your company isn't sponsoring you yet, ask them. But we also asked everybody, would you hire students out of this program? And the answer has been a resounding yes. So this 500 million people out there is going to become extremely important down the road. Now, recruiting and getting a job after graduation is not just a matter of having alums you can call up, it's also a matter of being prepared to do well. So at the Ross School, a big and important advantage are the career resources and support that you receive. So in the online MBA, just as any other of our MBAs, you can participate in our formal recruiting process. You can, you know, you'd have to come to campus for a lot of those interviews, but if that's what you wanted to do, you could do that. But if that's not what you want to do, you are more flexible. You have a unique personal goal for your own recruiting. What we are building is individualized career support, personalized career support. So a coach that will help you leverage the various resources, that will help you prepare by, you know, putting you through resume reviews and mock interviews, so that when you do hit the recruiting world, you're ready to go. So this is an important part of the MBA education, and it's something that starts almost the minute you get to campus, sometimes even before you start thinking about, okay, how am I going to plan my studies so as to build the resume I want to have to achieve the goals that I have for myself. And we are hiring more people to support just the part-time students here at Ross, because more and more people in part-time MBA programs are using these programs to pivot to new industries, new job categories. And so we want to make sure that you're able to fully make use of your education to achieve those goals. So that's why Ross. I'd like to move specifically to why online. We've never had an online program, and indeed, we are the only top 10 business school that has an online MBA program at this stage. So why is that happening, and what does it mean? Well, um, the first and most important reason probably that all of you are here listening to this is that an online program provides tremendous flexibility, right? Stay where you are, get where you want to be. So being able to continue in your job and progress on your career, or being able to support your spouse who has connections to some other part of the world, or whatever it is in your life that makes it very, very difficult for you to pick up and go to an MBA program in some other part of the country or world. The online program allows you to consider an elite MBA program without moving, right? So this is, probably one of the first considerations. Once you've gotten past the quality consideration that it is a premier MBA program that delivers all the things that I just talked about, then flexibility is the maximum or the most important benefit of an online program. So the other thing that you can do if you continue to work while you're studying is you can leverage your work to enhance your studies and leverage your studies to enhance your work. This is probably the highest form of learning by doing, action-based learning. And we try to capitalize on this in the MBA programs, including the the part-time MBA programs, including the online program, by asking students to make use of their workplace in the assignments. So for instance, I teach operations management. I will give my students an exercise to go into their work environment and find a system that has certain attributes, and then we'll take the course concepts and diagnose those systems. And sometimes, though, if the students take it seriously, they can actually leverage the course to make some significant progress on a problem that they're facing in the workplace. And so for me, that's a win-win, because it's making the conceptual ideas that we're covering in class very concrete, and it's also showing you the value of the education you're obtaining in real time. So this is a powerful thing about studying while you're continuing to work. It's obviously stressful on your schedule, but the online degree program is flexible. So it's flexible enough for you to pace your progress to meet your life situation. So if you can only take one class a semester, fine, take one class a semester, leverage it. It'll take you a little longer to get done, but that's up to you. If you want to go essentially at a pace that's equivalent to full time and finish in 2 years, that's feasible too. But again, it's up to you. Maximum flexibility suits your individual needs. Another reason for studying online is that the world of business is rapidly going online. It's very interesting for me when I talk to recruiters. I've been talking to our top recruiters, our Amazons and Googles and McKinseys and all these places. And, we talk about, how effective is education online, and, what kinds of things can you do, over the online channel. And then I'll ask the people I'm talking to, the vice presidents or, partners or whatever they are, what are you doing with respect to your meetings the rest of the day? And they'll tell me, well, I'm meeting with my teams in a virtual platform, right? They're going to use GoToMeeting or Zoom or whatever it is for their meetings. And I go, well, you're managing teams remotely, right? Using this distance technology. Why wouldn't you want to have students who have actually consciously enhanced their skills to manage and work in teams over these virtual channels? And so we're going to do that in the online program consciously. So for instance, one of the electives we're working on is virtual communication. So how do you communicate effectively to teams? How do you manage? How do you engage people when you don't see them face to face, when you are using these channels and you're using email and you're using, conference calls, et cetera, et cetera? Well, there are some differences, and there are some skills in managing, groups, project work, meetings, and so forth that you can build. And so coming out of this program, you will be better prepared to manage in this kind of environment, which is only getting more and more common, than you would be if you had a fully in-place, in-person live program. So there are some strengths to actually studying online, and I think that we're going to see more of this kind of study. Indeed, we're actively introducing some of these online elements to our residential programs, not because the students aren't here, but because of their educational value. Okay, so that's why you might want to consider an online program, and we talked about why Ross is an outstanding business school that you might want to consider. Let's talk about why now. Well, the biggest reason right now is you no longer have to choose between quality and convenience. I mean, in the past, it's been I can pick up my whole family, move across the country, go to a great MBA program, give up 2 years of income, all of the costs associated with that, and get an outstanding business education. Or I can go to an online program. It will be a lower tiered program. It won't have the same kind of alumni network. It won't have the same kind of access to thought leaders that I would have gotten at an elite school, all of that, but I could do it from where I'm at and not leave my job. Well, now with the advent of a true top 10 elite MBA program being offered online, you can have it all. You can have a quality program and you can have it in a convenient format. So this is the first time in history that you've been able to have that all together. So now is a good time to be thinking about it. The reason that this is happening now is that technology is finally ready to support it. We've been talking about distance learning. People have been doing online learning for a long time, but the broadband connectivity wasn't strong enough. The online learning tools weren't refined enough. We just didn't have the technology base to deliver it effectively. So we did it, but the quality wasn't there. We're convinced that the quality is there now. And here at Ross, we're working with best-in-class providers for technology on several dimensions. So we're going to be not just offering a course in Coursera. We've offered plenty of those things. We're not using Coursera. We're using our own custom platform that is taking the best from what the industry has to offer. And so we are confident that we will be able to deliver both high caliber asynchronous self-study modules and vibrant interactive synchronous sessions over the online channel. So don't use this webinar as a guide to what you would expect. Here in the program, when we launch, we will have sessions in which there will not just be, communication between students and professor, but we will have breakout groups and interactive activities in which the class engages with one another, just like we do in our live classroom exercises. The curriculum that we have put in place for the online program is reflective of all of our MBA programs. The learning goals are identical. We're aiming to have you master the same skills and the same expertise. The core is identical. The courses that you're going to cover are the classic finance, marketing, accounting, organizations, operations, et cetera, that you would cover in our core or pretty much any top business program core. The credit hours, for instance, the 2.25 credit hour core classes are exactly the same as the full-time and weekend MBA programs. So no difference. The instructors are the same. The electives that we're going to offer are the same. We're basically building out the electives, and we're starting with the electives that are the most popular ones among MBA students now. And we will be listening to the population in the online program as we expand the range of opportunities. So right now, the setup is that you take basically 12 core courses and 8 elective courses to build your online course curriculum. And then a unique part of the online program are 3 on-campus residencies that will count as 3 credit hour courses. So you have 9 credit hours of these. These are going to be the absolute best of Ross. They will be experiences that you will come to campus for. and that you will engage in a very intense environment. There will be some pre and post work to make them into programs. I'll talk in a minute about a specific example of what one of these is like, but these are going to be the crown jewel in terms of the experience, along with MAP. And in MAP, you're going to work under the supervision of a faculty advisor on a real world problem for a real world client, which could be international or domestic. You'll be able, just like all of our students, you'll be able to bid on the project that best suits your interests and needs, and you'll participate in that, supervised both by an advisor from the faculty and a client in your firm. So a couple details on some of these things. The courses are made up of two components. One is the asynchronous self-study modules. So those are things where you'll go in, you'll have videos by your instructors, you'll have exercises, you may participate in some discussion boards, you may do some simulations where you'll say run a simulated factory. You'll do that in my class, and have a chance to do things kind of on your own. And then those modules will allow you to build the basic skills that you'll need for the synchronous sessions. So for instance, if you're going to do some kind of finance, valuation project where you're going to value a business, you're going to have done some, cash flow analysis and, net present value kinds of calculations. So you'll have worked through that on your own in the self-study modules and demonstrated that you have the understanding. And then they'll use those skills in one of these live sessions. So each of the core courses has basically 4 of those, and I've got an approximate there because they may vary a little bit from class to class based on the subject matter. So for instance, some of the electives, may actually have a little bit different numbers, but basically you'll meet roughly weekly for these classes, because all our classes are offered in half semesters, and so you'll have these meetings at regular intervals throughout that. The live sessions, in addition to having the asynchronous modules as prerequisites, will also have some post work. Apply these concepts to an application in your own workplace, or reflect on the generalizable principles that we've drawn out of this exercise we just went through, or something like that. They'll vary from exercise to exercise, depending on the subject matter. MAP, as I said, is this exercise in which we work on projects for real clients. And many of our students, all programs, all different flavors of MBA, describe their MAP experiences as some of the most significant and memorable things that they did during their studies. And we have every intention of making these just as memorable and influential in the educational process as they've always been. So, you might have a client in Chile that's, doing, whatever, rolling out a new product, or considering, a strategic reorganization, or you name it. We've got projects that are, look like they're finance based, look like they're operations based, look like they're marketing based. But typically, real world problems don't fit in interdisciplinary or into disciplinary buckets so neatly. And oftentimes you wind up having to use a range of skills. And that's actually one of the reasons that MAP is such a powerful thing, is that it lets you sort of go from the narrow focus of the core classes on specific disciplines and integrate those into your problem solving in real messy, complicated problems that you face in MAP. You also get some really significant team management experience working on these MAP teams, and you'll be able to leverage, some of those courses, like the virtual communication skills course, if that's one of the electives you choose, in your MAP project. The residencies, one of the points I want to make here, I've said you aren't just at Ross, you're part of Ross. when you come to these residencies, they will not be isolated events just for online MBAs. They are going to involve students from other programs and even students from outside Ross. So for instance, the first one that we're working on right now, which will be ready to go in year one, is a leadership residency that will make use of what we call the Ross Crisis Challenge. So what we do is we present you as teams of students with a crisis. You know, you're launching an ecotourism site in Central America, and you've just had a big work stoppage due to a strike, and you're getting really bad press in the media. And now all of a sudden you start getting tweets, you know, from some rogue employee who's gone, you know, off the grid and is slamming you in, you know, in the social media. What do you do? And then we bring you up to simulated corporate boards, you know, so your board of directors grills you. And then finally, at the end of this thing, we put you in front for a press conference in front of Knight Wallace Fellows, who are professional journalists, really high caliber journalists who are on sabbatical here at the University of Michigan. And they grill you just like you would be grilled in a press conference. And so this is a really intense, like 24-hour exercise that you would be part of, you know, integrated right there in Ross with all of the other students. Wrapped around this experience is going to be some positive leadership exercises. So we're going to set you up so that you're talking about how do you work with this team, what are the roles, how do you manage from within a team, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're going to debrief after that with some assignments in which you analyze the dynamics of your team and how it worked and so forth. So you're actually doing multiple things here. You're not just learning about crisis management, you're not just learning about leadership, but you're also, you know, learning about team dynamics, all in a learning by doing environment. And so all of your residencies will be of this caliber, where you're coming into the Ross community and really being part of something that's big, engaged, and powerful in terms of integrative learning. Anyway, well, that's kind of my my summary. Basically, I'm telling you that it's finally here. We can give you the best of Ross and the best of technology and give you a program that is both very high caliber, that lets you integrate into the community here at Ross in a very real way, and that you can do it while you continue in your job, while you continue, you know, with your family life and everything else. And you know, achieve the kind of success that one would come to expect from getting a Ross degree. So with that, I'm going to just open it up to questions and let you tell me what you would like to have to. So the first question I'm reading here says, do you have the option to do a map project globally, or does it have to be virtual? You're saying, could you actually travel to your map project? Right. Okay. And the answer is yes, we can probably do that. You know, we have map projects. That's going to take a little bit of work, but if there are people there, I mean, we have a huge infrastructure for setting these things up. So we will have global projects. The question of whether or not, for sure, the question is, will you travel to your sponsor? And so the answer there is yes, that's possible, right? So we're going to have to see how many people want to do that, because obviously that means you're going to have to take a, you know, time off from work and so forth to go there. So okay. Next question, is it possible to switch between online and on-campus part-time MBA? And change in the middle of the program. Well, we do have this happen from time to time. So for instance, we have some people that will, for instance, go from the weekend MBA to the evening MBA program. And I suspect we'll start to see people doing that to go to the online MBA. So it's possible. It's not typically it's not possible to go from a part-time MBA to the full-time MBA. The pace is just different. You've missed your sections and all of the other stuff. The full-time MBA has a cadence to it, and say the same thing with the weekend. So while you can go from full-time to part-time, you can go from weekend to part-time, and you can go from those to the online program. To go the other direction is not going to work well here. So if what you want to do is full-time, apply to full-time. You really should get into that from the beginning. Um, So, okay, here's a good question. International expat assignment within the next year. So the live sessions, yes. So we're going to try to be sensitive in terms of our scheduling of the live session. So typically, a class is likely to have more than one time slot for live sessions. So for instance, we may, so we're sitting here in the Eastern time zone, and so we may offer things in the morning, which would be sort of pre-work for people out on the West Coast, but would be late afternoon for people in Europe, evening, say, for people in Asia. So if we pick our time slots, I think we can make it work so that you will be able to participate in the live sessions. Other than that, the only challenges of having an expat assignment would be, can you get back for the residencies? Now you can choose when you do your residency. So for instance, if you're too busy on the assignment and can't come back to campus for a residency this year, you could skip a year and say, okay, I'll pick it up next year. You're just going to have to do 3 of them over the time that you're in the program. But beyond that, no, there's really nothing. I'm assuming you have a broadband connection wherever you are. Beyond that, I don't think that. Um, Question: do we like to see applicants that are currently employed? Sure, absolutely. Most of our people are currently employed, and we leverage that. Um, how soon can you complete the online MBA program? Well, okay, here's the thing, is once it's fully rolled out, you can complete it in 2 years, possibly even less if you take enough courses. The residencies will be offered. However, if you start in the fall of 19, you will not be able to take the courses fast enough to get out in 2 years from fall of 19. If you start in winter of 2020, you will be able to. From winter 2020 and beyond, you will be able to complete the course in 2 years. But of course, the most people are longer. So the typical pace for part-time students is about 3.5 years. That's what most people do. That basically, you take one class each half semester. If you keep on that pace, you'll finish in basically 3 years in a semester. But you can go longer than that too, if family circumstances and work and so forth. Um, Online sessions, yes, can be recorded, but we really try not to have you miss them, because again, the online sessions, the synchronous online sessions, are interactive, right? So it matters that you're there participating. So yes, we understand that life intervenes and that people will miss things, and we do record for folks. If you're in a situation where you can't make any of them, that's a bigger problem, and that's something that we would want to make sure that you can manage before you enter into the program. um, how big the class will be. We are not aiming for a large class. We are aiming for a relatively small class, say 60, something like that. That was what we would consider to be a section in the MBA program. The reason for that is, A, we want to make sure that we uphold our quality standards and let in people that meet the Ross criteria, and that we have enough time to spend personally with you, to give you, the attention you need, because you're coming into a new program, and we want to make sure that you're supported well. Once programs get stabilized and running, we can grow. Okay. um, let's see. Live discussions during the weekend or mainly weekdays. I think that it's going to be a mix of both, but we won't be able to do all of them on weekends, because once we look at the time slots that work for people, who are working, we'll want to use multiple days of the week so that you have maximum flexibility in terms of which courses you want to take at what time. So right now, you can count on, but rarely will they be held in the middle of the day. I don't think we'll schedule any of them then because we're expecting a number of the students to be working. And so we'll be probably looking at things after work, maybe some before work, and some on weekends. See what questions have we not taken a look at. It says how many classes to finish in 2 years. So could we go back to the slide that had the curriculum there? Sure. So there were 12 courses. So I mean, I can tell you there are 12 courses for the core. There are 8 electives, so that's 20 courses. And there are 3 residency courses, and then there's 1 MAP course. So what was that? That was 20, 23, 24. So 24 courses if you count residencies and MAP just as 3 credit courses, which is how they're in the book. 57 credits, that's the same number of credits as the full-time. So, okay, good question about the half semesters. So here at the University of Michigan, a semester is basically 12 weeks with some study time in it. The half semesters are 6 weeks long. And so there's an A and a B. So there's a fall A, a fall B, a winter A, a winter B, and a spring summer A and B. So there are 3 semesters per year, 6 half semesters per year. So what you're basically taking is a course in 6 weeks. But our recommendation for somebody who's part-time is you take 1 class. So you will have to meet, about once a week in the live sessions and do some self-study work for the online modules, and that's a pace that you can do. The residencies will require you to come to campus, but we're offering those overlapping with a weekend so that they'll probably go Thursday. Actually, they are planned to go Thursday to Sunday. So if you come in Thursday or Wednesday night, you would miss 2 days of work only to do the residency. Anyway, so I hope that answers the question about the half semesters there. We use half semesters in the full-time MBA, I should make a note. So for instance, when I teach operations in the full-time program, I teach it in winter A. And so it's a 6-week long program, and the students basically, take 2 classes in winter A and then 2 classes in winter B. That's a full-time program. A half-time program would be you take 1 in winter A and 1 in winter B. Will the online MBA classes be offered on a non-matriculating basis? Partially. We won't offer the full classes, but we do have MOOCs. So for instance, we have a leadership MOOC on Coursera now. We have a finance MOOC. So if all you want is the content, not the experience, not the access to the Ross community, not the networking, the career services and all that, yes, we will be offering much, not all, but much of the content in various forms for non-matriculating students. Average age is 29. That's true, but it's not. That's not a requirement by any means. We have people who are older, and the part-time programs have more people who skew older than the full-time program. The full-time program, very few people, say over 40 in the full-time program. That's very rare. It's not very rare in the part-time programs. And so in the online program, so far, it seems that the mix of students is skewing a little bit older than the part-time program, which already skews older than the full-time program. So I have no problem with 50-year-olds in the program. I think that the rich life experience would be wonderful to have in the classroom. I'm not sure what the question of how will the transcript be read means. Do you know, Anne? What's on your diploma? Oh, your diploma says MBA, MBA from Ross. There's no distinction between weekend, evening, part-time. It's just MBA. That's the degree. We don't have multiple degrees. We have a MBA degree. We have a BBA degree. We have a Master of Supply Chain, but we don't have a part-time MBA degree. That's just the program, the delivery mechanism, not the degree. So have we touched on everything that folks have on their mind? Okay, yeah. Oh, okay, yes, we don't. Estimated costs for the program? Oh, okay, that's a reasonable question. So the tuition so the baseline is 110 for in-state, 120 for out-of-state, but there's some tuition increases that happen from year to year. So it's a little more than that to finish, and it depends a little bit on how long it takes you to get through, right? If you stay in the program for 5 years, the cost will be slightly higher than if you don't. However, there is no penalty. The more semesters you take, like if you're a full-time student here, you would pay more for doing that because there are some fixed costs associated with the um, registration. In this program, we've set it up so that it really is just a matter of how many credits you take. Did you answer the application deadline? So the application deadline is May 20th. So May 20th is that. The average GMAT score, it's what is it, 650 to 670. That's the average. So the 650 to 670 is the average. Obviously we have people above and below that get into the program. We evaluate people holistically. So yes, we do look at GMATs, we do look at undergraduate grades, we look at work experience, we have interviews. So yeah, but that's where we're at. And we are going to be offering some guidance on finding support to prepare for the GMAT. So if you haven't taken it and you need some some support, we're going to point you toward that. Attending an online class session, not this semester, but next semester. I'm offering my class in a pilot version that some of our residential students will be taking. And so just like if you're an applicant to the full-time program, we have some times where we invite visitors to step in and participate in a session. We're going to do the same thing in the online thing. So watch for that coming up in winter B. So we'll be advertising it after the first of the year and let people know that that's available. Yeah, we just So the way that the interview process works is we have a screen. So we basically get people who apply, and we look at their credentials. And if they have the credentials to be reasonable candidates, then we interview them. But we don't necessarily interview everybody who does apply, because some people, for instance, don't have the necessary experience to get into an MBA program yet. We'll tell them that, you need to wait a couple of years and get some more experience before you can get in. And an interview wouldn't make a difference in a decision like that. We have so 100 probably is where we're at for TOEFL. Yeah. So the question was, what's the grade for the TOEFL for international students? And yeah. So I should say that for if people haven't seen it, so Ann Schoen, our admissions officer here for the part-time MBA program, runs online webinars every other week. And she goes through the details of the application process and, all of the kind of nitty-gritty questions about the program. So if you're intrigued by the conversation we've had here, you might want to sign up for one of those and just ask your very detailed questions of her, because she's she's the person that would be talking to you if you apply here. So she's definitely the person to get the information from. We good? Okay, well, thank you, everybody. It's been wonderful talking to you. I hope that I will see some of you in my class next semester, in which case I'll be able to see you and you'll be able to talk to me as well as me to you. And I think that'll be a whole lot more fun. Anyway, have a great rest of your day, and thanks for tuning in.